Oh, we are live.
Oh my God. Hang on. Twitter as well. Twitter Spaces. There we go.
We need to capture this moment because it's
It's crazy.
technical issues and a bug from StreamYard, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are here.
That's the most important thing.
We are motivated to bring you this show. So
yeah. It
well,
makes things happen even when it's hard.
yeah. And in technology, there's always happening something like this.
Yeah. Murphy's Law for StreamYard.
Welcome to Chaos and Amazement, where we explore the impact of digital technology on our daily lives. My name is Phil Vrijen, and this, ladies and gentlemen,
It's Global Arts. And we built socialrunners.com together a while ago, and it's up and running. It's a platform where marketing professionals like me can book creative professionals like Phil. And it works. But in this live stream every Friday, usually until the end of this year, 2023, we bring a lot of chaos and amazement. That's the main goal.
This is chaos now.
Yeah, quite a lot of chaos. Yeah, more chaos than we're comfortable with.
Yeah.
However, it's been an amazing week for tech lovers. I actually got my mind blown. So there was the very first edition of the Developers Conference by OpenAI.
Ooh.
Now everyone has their own developers conference. All the big boys do it, but this was the very first one for OpenAI. So it was. Sam Altman's, baptism by fire. And you could see on stage he was a little nervous, but I was impressed. It's 45 minutes. You can still check it on YouTube. I highly recommend spending 45 minutes of your time watching the main keynotes. And there's just, of course, a lot of new features for ChatGPT, so I'm not going to bore you with that. There were just two things that stood out for me is about the conference in itself. Is that although the message was that ChatGPT is now evolving in such a way that everyone who had built a little business around wrapping something around OpenAI's main services is now out of business because ChatGPT is growing and it's becoming an ecosystem in itself. And that's the thing that blew my mind is that it's no longer an app or an API or a website or a chatbot. It's a lot more than that. And then we're talking a lot about agents. And we talked about agents before. It's basically no code. You can compare it with little apps, except that apps are transactional and an app on a mobile phone can use a lot of features that are typical for a mobile phone, like, for example, sensors and location. So first we had like websites, we had the information superhighway. Then we had apps that were able to do transactions and use sensors. Yeah. Now we have agents. And agents can be built by anyone now, if you're a paying customer of ChatGPT, obviously, and then you can build your own little agent. And the difference between agent and software is that agents do stuff in the real world for you.
Yeah.
So there was a very, very simple example of booking a trip to Paris, and then you upload PDFs of your bookings, Airbnb, flight tickets, and then it can, of course, make a whole planning of what to do with your friends. So far, so good. But then, of course, the difference with software or website is that the agent can then ask for permission to be linked to a service where you can book, tickets for the Eiffel Tower, which you need to book in advance. Otherwise, you will be waiting for a very long time. And so it does things in the world. And then the way it worked, it was very impressive because it will, like Zapier, it will ask every time, can I connect with this service that you have so I can do this thing? And I think that's revolutionary because for me, it's like the third industrial revolution for everything digital and online after websites and apps is agents. And the idea is, of course, that you, a paying customer of OpenAI, can build your own little agent. A wine connoisseur agent. I could upload my 3 handbooks as a PDF, which is funny because that's a very old-fashioned format, but it kind of, these OpenAI services, they handle very well content in PDF for some reason because it's flat, I assume. Yeah. Upload my 3 handbooks and then create a little agent that gives you marketing advice or that teaches you everything there is to know about digital marketing. and that helps you create a digital marketing plan and digital. So everything just based on my book. So a little like a little digital marketing professor in a box. I could do that, and then make this available if I want to. Make this available, and here it comes in a GPT store, a store where it can be sold. And then Sam Altman called this revenue sharing, but Apple takes like 30% of whatever your app is making in their store. So it will probably be something like that. It's not revenue sharing; it's just taking a cut. And that's just amazing.
But this is also where we will get Web3, because AI will get that support from mixed reality. More mixed reality in the near future than virtual reality.
And it will make connections with whatever it needs. In order to get something done, and that's one thing. So in his talk, he referred quite often to the community of developers, and they had been asking for particular features like JSON services and lower pricing. So he referred quite often to the community. And the second thing that stood out for me from the keynote format was a surprise visit from Satya Nadella, who is a lot more confident on stage, of course. And he was very good, Satya Nadella. He talked about
updates for Bing.
Obviously, but he talked a lot about Azure because hosting costs for anything AI related are really high. You can't just run that on something that usually is a web server. No. It takes a lot more than that. And so he made a joke. Sam, I'll remember the first time we met, you asked me for more Azure credits. So Microsoft now is actually, he announced that they're working on ways to make it cheaper for Microsoft to host all that AI. But it was very, very good. So watch the keynote, not just to learn what the new features are of ChatGPT.
I'm curious. I want to see it.
It's in itself, it's, I think, a historic keynote. Up there with one more thing, I think, because of the agents and the way they were explained, and then the fact that there's going to be a store for agents, and that anyone, without having to know how to code, can build their own little agent. So the future of AI is, of course, not artificial general intelligence, not AGI. It's just a whole bunch of a whole population of little GPTs. Little agents built by a lot of people.
Little Claw, little Phil.
Little Claw, little Phil. Yeah, exactly. And they will connect with whatever they need.
Smart Claw, smart Phil.
Yeah, Claw Pro, for example, or the premium version.
We are talking Apple marketing.
Yeah, there's I like it a lot, so it tickled my brain. And then I avoid talking about Space Karen, but as you know, he's very salty about the success of OpenAI because he wanted to become the CEO.
He's building his own.
He was one, So he was one of the first investors in what is now OpenAI, and then at a certain time he wanted to become the CEO. They were looking for their first CEO, and then he said, "Yeah, that will be me." And then he didn't make the cut because he was already CEO at that time of at least 3 other completely different companies. And the logic was that you can't give this OpenAI startup your attention if you're also running a car company, for example, and a space business company. And that's why someone else became the CEO, Sam Altman, who is actually more of a startup investor type. But he's been doing great so far. So obviously, X.AI has launched. He has announced that they have their own AI now, and it's called Grok, whatever, Bard, Grok, Bing. We don't care. But I knew it's only available for a very limited test group in the US. But so far, 90% of the comments are negative. Because I think I mentioned this before, getting the tone and voice right is really hard. And that's where Bing is exactly right. And why I still enjoy interacting with Bing, even though it's a little weird to interact with a chatbot and not with Bard, because I can't really explain it, but the way it interacts with you, its tone and voice, very subtle. In Bard, I didn't like it. I had a feeling that I was being told off quite a lot. It's very subjective, of course, but Grok is apparently supposed to be funny in a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy way, but it isn't, because it has been fed on millions of conversations on Twitter, and that's not a good idea.
No.
Of course, Space Karen has access to every single conversation that's ever been had on Twitter, both in DMs and public tweets. But Twitter had a big issue from the start because it missed the identity train. So Facebook forced you to use the same first name and last name when you create an account. I'm not saying that everyone does this, but it kind of has a number of safeguards. It's really hard to pretend to be someone you're not on Facebook. So they got this from the very first start. So Facebook's got it right. LinkedIn has got it right. YouTube tried to, didn't make it. With Google Plus, they tried to, but it didn't work.
Google is okay.
But Google is kind of, it's not like, the top, it's not silver or gold, but it's like bronze, still okay. But Twitter never got identity right, which means that when people wear a mask, they're more bound to misbehave because they think that what they're doing on Twitter will not have consequences in the real world, because nobody knows what their real identity is. Now, that has consequences for what people will say on Twitter to get attention. And very often it's not a nice place. It's getting worse week by week. It's really not. I'm on Blue Sky. I've been having real conversations on Blue Sky.
It's really looking the same. I also don't.
Yeah, it's very clearly a Twitter.
But what I also want to tell you, I'm using Grammarly Go now.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, and it's really.
How do you like it so far?
I like it
because
it's
great, isn't it?
You can play around with the tone of voice, and that's nice.
That's what I've used it for, the premium version. I've used it exactly for that.
Yeah, but then with AI, it's much better because it's rearranging the way you need
the feature that is, in my experience, really unique to Grammarly Go is identify gaps. So it not only it understands your text now. Any language model can do that. It can understand what the text is about. But it can also kind of see that the text would become better if, for example, you gave an example of what you were trying to tell.
Like this.
It'll find gaps in your text. It's really impressive. So yeah, I'm glad to hear that.
Yes, it's really nice.
But it's only available for the premium version of
it's 140 euros.
Yeah.
For a year.
It's not cheap, but it's one of the tools that I pay for gladly. No, not expensive at all. And it's got more value now with AI that Go feature on board. So yeah, that's what I call amazement. All these tools that make you a better professional. The productivity part for me is more interesting than just the creativity part. So Grok. Grok has been fed tweets. This will not end well. Because of the reason I just explained. No, it's not good. Facebook, on the other hand, because there's elections coming up in the US, Belgium as well, and we know that deepfakes and fake news go hand in hand. So Facebook Meta has publicly announced that they're actually taking all of this very seriously. And they already have a number of tools that kind of detect it before it goes viral. But they're also counting on the sense of responsibility for the people who post and share these things. So that's, taking up your responsibility as one of the largest platforms in the world. Facebook is still, in terms of active users, still the largest social media platform and will play a role. Deepfakes and fake news both will play a large role in the upcoming elections, both in the US and in Belgium. Meanwhile, since we're talking about Meta, so what I call the Facebook burrito, Meta burrito, is Facebook Messenger, Instagram, and WhatsApp. So they don't really interact a lot. Facebook and Facebook Messenger, obviously.
Yeah.
Although I know quite a few people who only use Messenger and never post anything on Facebook, like younger people, for example, that will use Messenger, but never post anything on Facebook itself. However, WhatsApp was always, and you can integrate Instagram with your Facebook page and then automatically cross-post. But WhatsApp up until now was kept on the side, completely on the side. For example, there's no advertising product for WhatsApp, while there are advertising products for all the other three. But that is now changing. So Mark Zuckerberg kind of woke up a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, it is actually the number two most used communication app, social media app worldwide. And it's being used a lot. And as you know, I do quite a bit of volunteering in countries like Malawi or Mozambique or Rwanda. And everywhere I go, I saw that for the first time in South Africa, for example, years ago, is that WhatsApp is being used to do business. For the small businesses like a bakery, they will not just communicate with our customers, but things are being ordered, and payments are also being made, sometimes micropayments through WhatsApp. So there's a lot of opportunity there. So the interesting thing is that past week Mark Zuckerberg announced is that he sees WhatsApp functioning in two ways. Both are equally valid. The first one is as a popular communication app for like everyone,
Yeah.
regardless of their age and demographics, which is true.
Yeah.
My mom is on WhatsApp, and my kids are on WhatsApp. So
for
that's
all generations.
That's rare.
Yeah.
That's rare to have a communication app that is popular in all demographics. So that will always remain the same, probably without advertising, probably.
Yeah.
But then he sees WhatsApp also as a business app. And WhatsApp for business is, to be honest, is getting more and more features now, and it's becoming interesting. And I think it will become a transactional app very soon, which means this will be another thing that will make Space Karen very, very angry. Because I think WhatsApp for business is very close to becoming the everything app, with payment options, which is very important. Because I think if you want to sell something or buy something, trust is really important. So identity is important.
Yeah.
And WhatsApp is linked to a mobile phone number, and that's interesting because for any governmental organization like federal police, for example, if they know the mobile phone number, they know who's behind this, because it's very, very hard to get a burner phone. It's possible, but it's a lot of hassle. So theoretically, I think if you're like a financial institution on a global or European level, they would rather do business with Meta than with Space Karen. So WhatsApp, keep an eye on WhatsApp. At least 10 or 15 years after then Facebook acquired WhatsApp, they're finally thinking of how this thing will evolve, because it's huge. A little thing on TikTok culture, really interesting. As you know, I teach digital marketing classes to students, college students in Brussels. And I have promised them a guest speaker. And this guest speaker is the country manager for Belgium for TikTok.
Oh.
Yeah, his name is Vincent. And so he shared a lot of internal information about what goes on TikTok, not just for Belgium. And he mentioned WitchTo. WitchTo. So you have BookTok.
Yeah.
BookTok is a real thing, because a couple of months ago, I was in a bookstore in the Antwerp area. And they have like these tables and stands with a big banner over them that says BookTok.
Oh.
So there's wonderful. There's a whole new generation of people who start reading and buying books because other people are recommending them on TikTok. So TikTok maybe buy it. Works not just for these weird viral products like pink sauce and stuff like that, but also for books. So there's a lot of interesting subcultures. BookTok is one of them. WitchTo is another one. And apparently, WitchTo, let me look at the numbers. So there's 50 billion views on TikTok alone, but it's also linked with Etsy. Because, as you know, TikTok doesn't have social commerce features yet. Any day now. So if WitchTo is such a large subculture on TikTok, and people being attracted by the whole idea of, because what is a witch, of course? A witch, I know quite a few witches, to be honest, people who identify as witches. Two of them are men. So you don't have to be like, an old woman with a weird nose, green skin, and a pointy hat. it's actually a way of believing that by doing something, in believing in magic. So by doing something, performing a ritual or using words, writing down words, that you can have impact on the world, on someone's world, on someone's behavior, for example. So that's the basic idea. And a lot of these rituals, not all of them, are very strongly linked to nature, because a lot of what goes on in nature is also magical. So the idea of magic is that you can say something or do something that has an impact in the real world, because you bring something from the magical world to the real world, and that's fascinating, I think. However, there is a large market. There are markets in everything, but there's a very large market in people being attracted by the idea of buying something from a witch or becoming a witch. So it's a very, commercially speaking, very viable market. So currently on Etsy alone, let me have a look. So they're on Etsy, which is a store for people who craft objects.
Yeah, but it can be like magical cards, because there's a big community for tarot.
Oh yeah, the tarot reading. Yeah.
And that's also the witch culture.
Yes, exactly. People go to a witch to ask for advice, not just to ask for a potion. But
and
also
he or she lays cards.
Lays the card. I know quite a few people who do that too. Yeah, actually, I do. And they will read the cards for you, or work with the stars and whatever. But these objects are very popular. For example, in the United States, because the United States were founded by people who wanted to run away from regular religion and do their own thing. So they didn't want to be governed by the church. So there's as a consequence of that, a couple of hundreds of years later, there's a lot of people who kind of miss being told what to do by religious institutions. So they're very open to alternative ways of making sense of the world. And witchcraft is one of those, very big in the United States. I went to Salem once. And it's interesting because this is a little town. It's up north. I think it's still in Massachusetts. No, I'm not sure. It's not just north of New York. And it's a whole town that kind of, around Halloween, it goes a little nuts, because then it gets like literal hundred thousands of tourists who come there just to, they had in Salem is famous for having these, I think the most well-known witch trials on American soil, very young. I don't think it was even the United States yet. And I think 20-25 people died. They were being condemned as a witch, and then they were, killed. So that's the selling point of Salem, and it attracts more tourists every year. So they're a little overwhelmed by it, which to me points to the fact that there's a large market. In anything witch related. So Witch Talk and so the Hustle website has a very good article about this, not just a trend. It's how people get interested in something, and then on TikTok they find a community that will drag them deeper into this, and then they will want to buy stuff that comes with the lifestyle or with the interest. And another sign, I think, like the second TikTok offers commercial features where you can buy directly inside TikTok. That's, Amazon is done.
Exciting times.
Very much. Was that 2 or 3 weeks ago? We talked about this AI pin. We talked about two gadgets. So there was one, this pendant that would record your voice in the course of the day, and then there was Humane AI. And Humane AI it didn't really impress me. It has this Apple product look. So it does have the looks. It looks like this very stylishly looking white square that you would carry on.
Very small iPhone without a screen.
Yes, exactly that. And but it was a little too vague. They entered the scene with a large bang by having literal supermodels wear it on the catwalk, and then all the journalists were like, click. To me, it was not something that I would. It was very clear that it would cost like iPhone level price to get one.
I think it was too clumsy to.
Yes, but this week they had an official launch video So before you get all too excited, because sometimes you get too excited and you say, I'm going to buy this thing. And then the week after I'm in the studio, say, look what I just ordered.
My money is empty now.
Yeah, you spent everything on the house.
Yeah.
So this, you might say that about 700 euros, that's fine. But there's, of course, a recurring cost every month. So the thing costs around 700 euros, and then you will pay like a recurring fee, subscription fee every month, probably something between like 20-30 euros a month. So after a while, that kind of
why is
adds up.
To use servers or what?
Of course, it's connected. But I was impressed by the launch video. It's very slick. It's 10 minutes, which is too long for this podcast. But it was very well made. And I propose to just listen to the first 10 or 20 seconds or maybe the first minute, maybe, because they impressed me with how they solved an issue that every wearable gadget has, which is the battery.
I don't know if I can play the music because
we are getting an echo chamber in here.
Damn.
Oh yeah, of course we should. Yeah, because we're improvising here and doing. We can't show the video, can we?
I'm trying audio. Can I do? No, it's why?
You know why? Because we're streaming from my iPad, and iPads. I investigated this. iPads do not accept any external source. It's impossible. So you cannot connect an external microphone or an external camera to an iPad. Believe me, I tried.
Yeah, I will react behind this video with the picture that we have. Professional cameras using the iPad.
Well, how of course, like for example, I have here an Apple Watch. I think many of people who are listening also have an Apple Watch. Very cool. I mean, it's a very. I use it every day. It's very useful. It's like a remote control for your smartphone, and at the same time, it tracks a lot of things. Fitness tracker.
Yeah.
But the battery life sucks. You have to charge it literally every day, or it becomes useless. So a wearable thing like the AI pin by humane.ai, I thought this thing is going to have the same issue.
Yeah.
And they came up with a solution. So what you buy is the thing itself, the pin. But then there's also on the other side of your clothing as a pin, right? So there's also something in the back. And the thing in the back is actually a battery pack.
Yeah.
And there's a small battery in the pin itself. But when you add this pack in the back, it's being that the small one is being charged by the pack in the back. It's so simple.
Oh.
So whenever you need to get some extra charge for the pin in the front, you can hot swap it. So you just you just remove the pack in the back and then take another one and then add that. So this is actually Apple level brilliant in terms of business model, because what will everyone do? You order one AI pin, it comes with one battery pack, but then of course you will buy more packs. And then you will leave, whenever you're leaving with that thing, you will have at least 3 other batteries because you never know. So that was actually very smart. And they also explained exactly, so it's not constantly listening. It's not, I used to have one of those in my kitchen, one of those Amazon.
But can this be a hype, or what do you think?
I like the way it's not just a design factor. Fatima, who is a Belgian who works at the MIT in Massachusetts, had a TED talk in 2006. She's one of the 2 or 3 Belgians who were ever on the actual TED stage.
Yeah.
And then she talked about an interface that would just project things from a hanger pendant onto your hand. So the output screen, so to speak, would be anything close by, for example, your hand. And this AI pin does that. And it can be summoned. It's not constantly listening. You can summon it, by hand gestures, which the Apple Vision Pro also has, which the new Apple Watch also has.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, I think Apple should buy this pin. It's very close. It's someone from the Apple design team
Yeah.
who is now in the AI pin team. But I like it. It's a lot of hard work to make it look this simple to use. And that's what I like. That's what impresses me about this thing.
But it's expensive. I wouldn't buy it because it's expensive and not doing too much for me now.
Yeah, it's the very first iPhone was also basically a brick.
Yeah.
Very expensive compared to the Nokias and Blackberries we had back then. And you couldn't really use it as a phone at first because it was linked to US. So this thing, same thing. I just use it $24 a month, but it's linked to T-Mobile, for example. So I would definitely not recommend buying the first generation of this thing. But I don't think it will be a fad that will look ridiculous in a year. The thought that they put into not just the design factor, but how to solve real life issues like battery life of wearable devices, to me proves that it's being made by a team that knows what it's doing.
What they're doing.
Yeah. So, yeah, I know I was more impressed by the pendant last time, but yeah. All right, so I wrote two blog posts. The first one is so there's the Nobel Prize, but there's also such a thing as the Ig Nobel Prize. Like you have the Raspberry Awards for the most ridiculous actor instead of the Oscars. You have something similar for the Nobel Prize. Now, the thing about the Ig Nobel Prize, they also have been around for quite a while now, is that at first sight, they are ridiculous, but then they make you think. So that's why I wrote a blog post about this year's finalists. And I'll just pick one. Someone did an actual research counting the amount of hairs in your nose and then checking if humans in general, tend to have the same amount of hairs in the left nostril or the right nostril. And the answer is no. Apparently, science, generally people have more on the right hand side.
Really?
The right nostril. Yeah, and that's what I like about the Igno. It's your reaction. You say, "Oh, okay." So at first you think like, "Ha ha ha ha," hair, nose hairs.
Yeah.
And then
that is exceptional, really.
Because, and then it makes you think.
Yeah.
So that's I made a list of. There's a long list of finalists. So I made a list of my blog post, and the link to my blog post is in my newsletter, globalarts.substack.com. And then another thing of which I'm sure that it's something that will will be ridiculous in a year's time. But I wrote a blog post about it anyway. It's not a new idea. So there's been, especially in the blockchain circles, blockchain theoretically could be used to create like a new nation. Because why would we be Belgian? A nation state in itself is actually a really weird idea, to have this linked to your identity. Because if you look at history, the way nations pop up is basically someone at a certain point in time saying, "I'm the king." And enough people, believing it, and then you can remain a king with a kingdom or a nation state. You can remain a nation state. You're being challenged the whole time by the neighboring nation states who want to gobble up a piece of your territory and keep it for them, especially if you have like natural resources. And then you have a fight or a war or something in between, and then one of the two sides, very weird way to organize the planet, And this is one of our main identities as well. Your identity card is issued by the nation states, and if you want access to a lot of services like health services and entry in a lot of places, you have to show this thing. So ever since the dawn of humanity, I think there's been alternative ways people Like if you have, for example, anything like a very small artificial island somewhere, and then someone would claim that island, say, I am now a nation state, and they would have their own flag and everything. So, and when it comes to blockchain, for example, there, I think it was called the Satoshi, which was technically, I think, a cruise ship. And the plan was that whoever would subscribe to this plan, would live on this ship and then navigate through international waters, and then maybe dock wherever they're allowed to dock. But technically speaking, you can't do that, which is basically what the founder of Scientology also did to evade taxes. I think he created the Sea Org, and if you're legally, you can do that. So the Satoshi cruise ship thing that never worked out. But there is now, it's only a concept, is a tech sanctuary built on, I think it's originally like an oil platform or something like that. And they got it all worked out. So basically, short version is that you would go there and live on this platform, which is actually a big server farm with living quarters. That's it. And then obviously, Bitcoin blockchain, the whole work.
But it's smart because you have cooling.
I hadn't thought of that. Yeah. The thing is, how do you get internet connectivity in the middle of the
satellites?
That's going to be expensive, man. I mean, I could be wrong, but you need a lot of bandwidth, and not just for the people who live there, but true. For the servers they need. You can't just, you?
That's true, but many people are getting SpaceX. No, what is this?
Starlink. Yeah, Starlink.
It's working very well.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that. Could you run a server park on Starlink?
With a powerful satellite, maybe.
I hadn't thought of that. You're not just a pretty face, are you? That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Because, of course, you would have to pay in order to be there. And I don't think there will be a lot of, as they call them, females on the Blue Sea Frontier Compute Cluster, as it's called, the BSFCC, the Blue Sea Frontier Compute Cluster.
They will be working with the virtual reality glasses.
Oh yeah, of course. They would all have like an open source version of the Vision Pro.
Garden view.
Fascinating.
Doing like this.
I think, to be honest, that's a horror movie scenario.
Yeah.
Right there, because one of them goes, nuts, and then kills off the entire crew.
Yes.
Who are all, or highly intelligent hacker developer types. There's a good movie script in there. Blue Sea Frontier Compute Cluster is the name. The Frontier, yes. And you would go and live there. If they are linked, if you have like your bandwidth there and like a whole server park, you would obviously mine Bitcoin or whatever that's left of there to mine, and you can make money. The social interaction between the people, that's what interests me. What happens if you put 15 nerds on an offshore platform in international waters?
It can also be a horror movie for people outside because they can hack all the...
Yes, they can take over the rest of the planet. If they are, why not?
It's a good script. Yeah.
So maybe you heard it here first, people. Blue Sea Frontier Compute Cluster. All right, we're almost there. Well, I have a lot of weird and wonderful things. There's let's start with an ad campaign by Doritos. We don't have to watch it, but it's kind of, at first I thought, wow, that's weird, because I'm used, as a marketing professional, I'm used to seeing marketing campaigns that are either a stunt in the real world, like the one with Schwarzenegger that we mentioned before, or a banner campaign, or videos, a lot of videos, But Doritos, the crisps, basically, they launched a campaign called Crunch Cancellation. So Doritos UK, doritos.co.uk/crunch silent, in all caps, funnily, silent. And what you can do there, so the campaign is software. That's been a while. I haven't had a computer for 15 years now, so I haven't installed any software.
It's also then. Windows PC.
On Windows PC, that's exactly what I thought. Now, first, why am I mentioning this? It is software for Windows PC. Actual, so you need like admin rights on your. You need to one have a PC, and two have admin rights, because a lot of people still have a PC, but it's issued. It's a Dell or an HP that they got from work, you know. But they don't have admin rights. They can't just download and install software there. But hear me out. So basically what this software does is that whatever audio that is being captured by the built-in microphone, it will use AI to cancel the noise caused by eating a bag of Doritos. It's brilliant, isn't it? and it's actually pretty good, because it's targeted at people who play a lot of games. Gamers. They will snack on on anything. They will snack constantly. Drink energy drinks
and Doritos.
And Doritos, right? So that's so it is actually built so that you don't annoy the others on Twitch or Discord or whatever back channel you're using for while you're gaming, is that they don't say, could you please cut down on the crunching. I like it a lot. I like it a lot, and I can imagine that you would run ads for this landing page, dorito.co.uk/silent. On Reddit, for example, obviously. And on Twitch, you work with a couple of influencers on Twitch and have a pre-roll, for example, before their live stream. So it's actually, it started off like, wow, Windows PC software is your campaign, but it's actually very, very smart. Very smart.
Wow.
Yeah, the Doritos crunch cancellation software. Then there was a quiz, and maybe you can click on that one. It's a quiz. It's a very simple quiz, but it's harder than you think, because it will offer you 2 words, and you have to guess. It will offer you 1 word. So let's click on play. Offer you 1 word. We get Bilbo. That's an easy one. And you have to guess, is this the name of antidepressant medicine, or is it the name of a character in Tolkien's books? So Bilbo obviously is one of the main characters. Now we have a word, Erastor. Erastor. Is this the name of an elf or a dwarf from the Tolkien universe, or is it an antidepressant? Yeah, Alastor is the chief counselor of the Elrond's household. Okay, right. So Minalcar is no. It's actually the 19th king of Gondor. Phil?
Oh, wow, yeah.
You're not doing very well. Amantadine, is that medicine or a character from is it?
I don't know.
Correct. It's a medication that has U.S. Food and Drug Administration approval. That doesn't say anything. Fentanyl is a highly addictive drug and also FDA approved. Luvox, is that an antidepressant? It is, actually. It's short for fluvoxamine.
Okay.
Yes. Elendil, that's definitely an elf. Correct. Yes. Adronax.
No.
Correct. It's a medicine. Sildenafil is it is hyper. Yeah, it's an antidepressant medicine. We're almost. Yeah, it's 24. So Nardil. No, it's medicine. It's not a Finarfin. Let's pick this one as the last one.
Oh my God.
So you didn't. I didn't think you got half of those.
No.
Yeah. Maybe it's very hard to come up with an original name if you come up with a medicine. So developing the medicine is not that hard anymore, because you also have AIs for that.
Yeah.
You can come up with a medicine that does exactly what you want it to do. It is with almost no side effects. You can speed up the whole process of developing.
Yeah.
new medicines, then you still have to get it FDA approved, of course. But coming up with a name is also very hard, and that's I think we're the Tolkien books. He invented the elfin language, for example, so he was very creative with words. We have what time is it? Yeah, we have time. So there's we have something from the UK and something from the Netherlands. Now, one of the things there's a lot of things that stand out when you visit the Netherlands. The Dutch, for one thing, they are very different from us. Dutch-speaking Belgians, they consider themselves as a different.
It's true.
Very different from the
It's
Dutch,
true.
although we speak the same language.
Yeah.
But one of the things that strikes you when you drive around in the Netherlands is that they have these wide bicycle lanes. And even for tourists who visit Amsterdam, for example, they will also notice, even though it's one of those typical medieval cities with a lot of cobblestones and historical buildings, a lot of bridges, of course, you still have a lot of people on their bicycle. And actually, it is not just a project that was launched 5 or 10 years ago. I remember that in like the 1970s, 1973, there was an oil crisis when, I actually remember that because, of course, quite something. The price of a barrel of oil went up artificially. It was being, made more expensive artificially. And so all of a sudden, as a government, everyone's complaining that it's getting too expensive to fill up the tank, your gas tank of your car. And the Dutch government back then decided that, okay, if that's how you're going to play it, we're just going to promote taking your bicycle over taking your car to go somewhere, which is quite unique. It's quite unique. In worldwide, it's quite unique. Yeah. So back in the 70s, back then, for the last century, like 50 years ago, they already started building these wide bicycle lanes. Because we have something similarly, and that's one of the things that the Dutch like to make fun of us Belgians, because we're a little behind. According to them, we're a little behind.
It's true.
We're the backwaters, but we are a little behind when it comes to mobility solutions and the whole bicycle thing. I live in Mechelen, and they have been working hard for the past 10 years or so to make the city, also a medieval city, with cobblestones and everything, bicycle friendly. And it's slowly changing in Belgium. You can see it. It's slowly changing. We're way behind on the Netherlands stuff. Yeah. But there's a website for that. It's called DutchCyclingLifestyle.com. Wow, the .com was still available. DutchCyclingLifestyle.com. And why am I talking about this? Because over there, what you have to do is to you use Google Maps, and it will use Google Street View of whatever address where you are. It will use Google Street View and then apply a filter over it to make it look like a Dutch street. And it's a very tactical move. I noticed that's AI generated, of course, that you see the Dutch people on their bicycles from the back, so you don't have to look at their faces. They're usually also taller than us, aren't they? And look healthier because they go out a lot more and then they take their bicycle, right? Yeah. But it uses, I think, generative AI to change the street view of your street into what it could have looked like if your government had the same courage as the Dutch government had 50 years ago.
That's smart.
And that's it's very imaginative. Are you doing this for your street where you are right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's there. It's there. There we are. Let's see if it's fast. Maas Mechelen. No, it's not. You don't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we are. Finding your street. Yeah, that's the street, more or less.
Flip it.
Flip it, yeah. Now we can see the front. And now reinvent your street. Let's see what happens. I think what it does is to take a screenshot of that street view that we just saw.
It's trained about the perspective, I think, in the picture.
Oh, that looks lovely. And what you can do now is send this to your mayor and say, look, oh, it looks lovely. It has a lot of flowers here, no cars inside, and a lot of space for people on their bicycles. There's some sort of a hipster food market going on in one of the examples. And then the website will generate 4 completely reimagined versions of your street, which is human friendly. Let's put it that way.
Nice.
And you can download them and then use these to put a bit of pressure on your local government, which is nice. Yeah, very well done.
Good idea. Ah, look at
Dutch,
this.
yeah, very very good looking. Yeah. I must warn you though, we're doing so. Where I live, Mechelen is doing this, actually changing the whole mobility plan and then investing in a lot more pedestrian friendly and bicycle friendly.
With this street as well, if you go with a tunnel.
Yes, and then put this on top. Yes.
Then you connect the two green environments together.
In Mechelen, they have now like a almost like floating bridge. So the cars are sent on top of everything, so they don't have to interact with school children on their bicycles anymore. And but I have to warn you, these Facebook groups where there are local, so where people who live in a particular city, they have these Facebook groups, and Gezet van Mechelen als in Dutch.
Yeah.
Very active, and they're very negative about all of this, because if they are used to being able to park their own car in front of their own house or their favorite store, they get nasty. It's you don't get a lot of popularity votes with doing this, but at least you can say, yeah, they do this in the Netherlands, and this is what it could look like.
Yeah.
All right,
I have a much better idea, but this is also a good render.
Yeah, but the car traffic has to go somewhere. Because the cars will still be there, but not everyone has to come into contact with pedestrians and people on their bicycle. That's the whole thing, because it becomes dangerous, when you have school children on their bicycles at the same crossroads where there's a lot of trucks, for example. So that's when these horrible accidents happen.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's have a look at the other weird and wonderful things. So London.
Yeah.
Not as interesting for us Europeans anymore as it used to be, because they're not in the Eurozone. We can't pay in euros when we go there. We have to pay roaming costs when we go there with our. So they have Brexit. We have Brexit to thank for that. So it's like a real foreign country, even though you could take a fast train and be in London in 2 hours. Yeah. It's still, in a lot of way, after Brexit, a completely different country. So it's not as attractive anymore. In the 80s, for example, it was really attractive for youngsters like me. I was young. And you would go to some sort of a pilgrimage to London, because everything was cooler in London. You could buy clothing and shoes, Doc Marten shoes, and these little pins and badges, and get inspired for your hairstyle, makeup. The whole lifestyle thing was super cool in London. And you would go there to buy records, for example. I would go there to buy books. Yes, I would go to London to buy books. Yes, that's no longer the case because of Brexit. It's just cumbersome. It's not practical. It's expensive to go to London. However, there's a website called medievalmurdermap.co.uk. Medieval Murder Map, and as you know, I'm a big fan of true crime podcasts, and so it's not just for London. It's also for York and Oxford, where Oxford University is, obviously, but in London. I did a guided walking tour once, following the path of Jack the Ripper, where you could have a guide saying, then here in this corner is where they found the still warm body of a young woman who was sliced open from her throat to her pubic bone.
Wow. What the
Yeah,
fuck?
that's an actual thing. But there's now this website, Medieval Murder Maps. Will if, for example, you booked an Airbnb in London, and then you can use this website to see where in the Middle Ages who was murdered right around the corner, with all of the bloody details around that murder. So that's yeah, maybe this should strike a deal with Airbnb, because I can imagine there are some areas in London, the old city, where there's a high density of murder. So if you are so inclined, the business model of this website could be that you could get good rates for Airbnbs that are around the corner, and then you can I don't know.
Wow.
Your theme would be places where people died a miserable, violent death at the hands
That's
of a ruthless criminal.
that's a website for my wife.
Yeah, well, medievalmurdermaps.co.uk is your friend.
Nice.
All right, we're almost there. Let's have a look at the other stuff that I brought with me. Are we already at the human fruit machine?
Yeah.
Well, you'll have to take my word for this one. It's a little TikTok video. I try to stay away from TikTok. It's just too addictive. But sometimes it brings you little pieces of very creative people on the other side of the planet, and I like that. Things you hadn't seen before. So linked in my newsletter is a little TikTok video is of what are these things called? They have, it's like a Renaissance fair. It's
Yeah.
called in the US. It's like a market, a very local pop-up market, where regular people can also have a booth. And this is what we're seeing in this video. There's three old guys wearing hats, and they're in a booth called the Human Fruit Machine. And what you need to do is, in a real fruit machine, which is a gambling, in Las Vegas, it's one variation of the one-armed bandit, right? So you put in some dollars, and I go like, brrr, and that's what these three guys are doing. So they're like these three monkeys sitting in a row, but instead of going like, we don't speak, we hear, is they go, they move their hands like they're rolling it, and then they pick an actual piece of fruit in front of them, like a banana or an apple or an orange, and then hold it up for you. And then depending, they're not looking at each other, so they're actually picking it up at the same time. And if you have like three oranges in a row, I suppose that you win. And it's so funny because they're having so much fun with it, with the way they move their hands and their faces when they hold up the fruit. I was watching this and I thought, that's so easy to do. All you need is a little booth, three old guys, and a fruit basket, right? But I would think this would actually make money. People would actually, if you would, I would put in like €2 coins constantly, just to see what happens when you win with this old guy's fruit machine. Not to be not don't make the mistake of typing in old guys and several times. You might end up in the dark corners of the internet. Do you remember Lemon Party? No, that's never Google that, people. Never Google Lemon Party. No, don't do, no, it's bad. It's really bad. Lemon Party. It's, Two Girls One Cup. Yeah, you know that one, right? It's that bad.
Okay.
It's that bad. But with old guys.
Oh.
Yeah, that should be enough warning. Yeah, well, okay. So remember, whatever you do not Google Lemon Party when your safe search is off. We did warn you. You will Google it, won't you? The minute we go offline, that's the first thing you will Google.
No, old guys.
Yeah, you will lose your appetite.
Yeah, okay, no. I'm hungry now, so
I'm hungry too. Well, we'll be back next week. We'll try and solve this pesky StreamYard bug. Not sure what caused it. But the main thing is that we did go live, and there is a recording of the whole thing. And so there's proof that we delivered this week a lot of chaos and a lot of amazement.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Till next week.